Hey everybody, you're watching Call the Corn Star. And big thank you to Ridge for sponsoring this video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 100% restoration of my $7,000 mansion and welcome to the underground movie theater. For today's plan, we are going to be focusing on 7 main things, and these are going to be split into 2 different groups. So we're going to have an outside group, and then we are going to have an inside group. Our outside group is going to start with tile. We have exterior perimeter drain tile that we need to get finished up. We have it about 75% complete at the moment. So once we get that done, then we're going to move on to the interior perimeter drain tile. This one should go much faster than the outside, so we should be able to get this knocked off in a couple hours. And then we need to come up with some sort of plan to get floor drains installed into the underground movie theater. Because right now, if we have a pipe burst in the ceiling and we're gone for a couple days, we're gonna come back to a swimming pool. And then when it comes to our inside plans, we need to get something figured out with our foundation walls and how we are going to go about pouring them. We've never done foundation walls before, so we need to figure out our process for doing that. And then also, the temperatures are starting to get really cold, so it may be too cold to pour our foundation walls, and if it does get too cold, we need to figure out how we're gonna be able to do it, because we need to get that done. Then I have some computer work that I need to get taken care of, and while I'm working on the computer, then I will also be able to evaluate some of the kitchen plans that we got back, and then we will sit and discuss the $1 million Dunsite lawsuit. Now, as for help today, it is going to be Roman and I, and as just a reminder, Roman and I are not professional house builders. We are completely DIYing this, so when we are doing stuff, just take it with a grain of salt because we probably don't know what we're talking about. So with that being said, exterior perimeter drain tile, interior perimeter drain tile. All of the exterior stuff is going to be on the outside of our little rebar wall here, so it's everything against the dirt, and then all of our interior stuff is going to be within the insides of our concrete footing. So when it comes to the exterior, we already have from right here all the way over into that back corner where the tarp is hanging down done. We just simply need to take our burrito wrap, get it folded over. We're gonna put another layer of this fabric over the top of it, and then we have 2 piles of rock up top. We're gonna lay that over the top so it'll all be covered up so we won't be able to see any of this fabric anymore, and then this will be done. And then from right here over, you can see we have our perforated drain pipe, and we still need to get from right here over to that blue tarp all rocked around this. We need to pull our fabric out, and then once we have it rocked, it will look just like this. And then same thing, we'll get this all wrapped up, and then we'll get it covered with another layer of fabric, then we'll get it covered with rock, and then the exterior will be done. And then when it comes to the interior, we already have rock laid in inside of here, so the inside is going to be a lot easier than the outside, because on the outside we had to dig through actual mud, but in here we basically just have to remove some rock. So kind of where we have this little trench started right here, we'll just move the rock along the entire outside edge. We have a conduit pipe right here, so we need to get that cleared out. We'll connect our tile up to that, and then we'll just continue through. We'll go right along the interior edge of our footing. We'll shoot through here. Then we have another conduit. I believe it's somewhere over here. We need to get that exposed and found. And then we'll pop in here to the center room. Same thing, go right along the edge. And then we have a conduit where the end of this black pipe is that shoots through right here. It actually might be right there. And then we're gonna shoot straight through, and then we need to get it connected up over there to our exterior perimeter drain tile line. And then same thing, we'll lay down our fabric, we'll put our pipe on it, we'll get everything wrapped up, we'll get it covered with rock, and then the interior will be done, the exterior will be done, and then we will be done with drain tile in the underground movie theater. Getting done with this drain tile may seem pretty insignificant, but we have been working on this for the last 4 months, so it's going to feel really nice to be able to move on to something different.
Yeah. What are we doing?
And to be completely honest, if I had to guess, Roman is really ready to be done with these tile lines because, well, he's been fighting some water.
We got our rock. I would like to say we're ready to rock and roll, but it is pretty nasty and rainy. So we're just gonna enjoy the dump. I really like that sign. That's what our nation needs. The water is dripping right from that valley down, hitting half dirt, half tarp, so we need to fix it real quick. That's good now. Water is just gonna run only on the tarp and not hit the dirt, so we're not gonna get silt. Fixed. Let's hide. It's raining.
So I would say that we are pretty safe to say that Roman is also ready to be done with all this water drainage stuff. Well, just ready to be done working below ground level in general. So now Roman is going to get started with the exterior perimeter drains, and then I actually need to take care of some stuff here in my truck office. Yesterday we had some exciting stuff happen. Well, I don't know if it was really exciting, but it was new for me, and I learned, and I like learning new things. So when I learn new things, to me, that's exciting. We had depositions for the lawsuit on our $1 million bin site lawsuit, and to be completely honest, like I thought it went extremely well. It was highly interesting to me to watch how the attorneys go back and forth. But to be completely honest, it drained me. After we got done, it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I just wanted to go to bed for the night. So I got a little bit behind on some of my computer work. So I'm gonna get this taken care of right now. I just have maybe an hour worth of stuff. And so Roman's going to get started down there. I'm gonna get this done. And then hopefully we can just get this wrapped up. And then we're gonna jump down, help Roman. And then he won't be the only one being in the cold, the wind, and the wet.
We're gonna start with straightening this felt, putting some rocks or something heavy over it so we can accommodate rock, so the wind would stop blowing it like it does right now, because we have 20-mile-an-hour wind today. So we'll get that going. So I just received a phone call from a friend of mine who is a contractor out west in the state of Wyoming. He's been in the construction since his teenage years, and he's still doing it very successfully. His name is Devin, and I was asking him about the concrete stuff we're gonna be facing here in a week or two, who knows, with our forms and the freezing temperatures, because even though we are doing projects in front of the camera, but we're always thinking ahead what we need to do next and what we have to consider to actually do those things in front of the camera. So there's one of the examples when I had to take time and receive the phone call. Thank you, Devin, for calling back. And he said we would have to definitely heat the place if we face the sub-freezing temperatures. So that's something I'll address to Cole, because he talked this morning about using actually what's called ICF, insulated concrete forms. It's like blocks of insulation, styrofoam, and you stack them like Legos. I don't know how big they are, maybe 1 foot by 2, and you just stack them like bricks, and that's your form, and you just pour concrete in there. It has its own pros and cons, just like everything else. So I'll pass it on to him and he'll make a decision. But in the meantime, we'll come back to work and get this done today. And finally, no mud. Look at this DU, and we are done with the computer. All right, let's go help Roman. Our perimeter drain is finished, except that it needs to be wrapped, but I'm not gonna do it in this windy conditions. It's gonna be a waste of time, me fighting it. And this little section here, we will need help with excavator so we can grab that gravel, drive it around, park it here, and sprinkle it with the bucket. But unfortunately, it's way too muddy for that. I'm gonna spare our poor excavator not buried in mud. So we're gonna wait another couple days or so for that. So I'm calling it done. Let's start working on the inside tile. Something I want to mention, that I'm happy that we took time to level this concrete that was left over extra from our pour, and instead of being a big pile, we scraped it down flat, level with the surface, so now we don't have to deal with it. And we actually started a little passage for the tile, so if we wouldn't do that, then we would have a big hump of concrete that I would have to chisel and deal with. But now we can just start digging right straight into the dirt, go along, pass through here, go along, turn, go along there, pass there, and finish right over there. Doesn't look like a lot, and I'm hoping it's not gonna be a lot, so let's get to digging. I came up to move the camera so you guys have a good view, but instead I got this view. Check this out. This is so beautiful. I apologize if I butchered, but how does the Bible say? The heavens proclaim God's glory, and that's what we're witnessing right now here. So pretty. Well, let's get back to work. See the shovel here? That's the only good shovel that we have. Another one is half shovel. It's extremely heavy and it doesn't have a sharp point. But that's what we have to do. We don't believe in good shovels at Cornstar Farms.
So these are the shovels that they're probably brand new 120 years ago, and then they've been sold at an auction like 97 times. But the good old auction shovels are just good, old, reliable. And actually, I believe this shovel came from my grandfather, so thank you for that, Roman.
Another one of these jokes didn't pass the test of time, so it failed.
Yeah, that one probably got left out in the rain one too many times.
Yeah, I asked Paul many times to buy a new shovel, but for whatever reason he is not wanting to do that, and I'm guessing that's because that's gonna be his excuse to avoid digging. But I don't know, I'm just speculating. I'd like to know what you guys think, and if you think that Cole needs to work a little more with the shovel, we're gonna start Patreon page for me to buy him a shovel. That way he doesn't have an excuse.
On the project, I have a big announcement. Right now, Ridge is offering up to 47% off on their website. This is the burnt Damascus steel Ridge wallet, which is my favorite Ridge product. About 5 years ago, my wallet looked like this. No matter how much cleaning I seemed to do, it was always about as thick as a phone book. After about the 500 millionth time of doing one of these to get my wallet out, I decided enough is enough, no more carrying around the phone book. It is time to upgrade to a thin wallet. I've been carrying one for about the past 5 years, and I would recommend it to anybody, and right now it has never been easier because Ridge is offering up to 47% off. And to put the cherry on top, they also come with a lifetime guarantee, so check out the link in the description. I think you will be glad you did. We have a little bit of a baby problem right here. Well, that's our second baby problem. But we ended up pouring concrete around our conduits that we have running through. And we marked the end of our big pipe, but we also have a little pipe right here. And concrete went on both sides of where we had a board over the end of our big pipe. So now, I don't know if the little pipe is on the left side or the right side, and both of them are encased in about this much concrete. So, we have the concrete breaker, and we're gonna try to break it up, see if we can find our pipe. Man, who got 5,000 PSI concrete with fiber in it? What do we got? Concrete. Probably over here. Ah, man, I do not see pipe on this side either. Uh-oh, see that vertical board right there, Roman? Do you think maybe it could be right there?
Oh, no way. That vertical board is just by chance over here. It just got itself stuck in there for no reason. Yeah, there is no pipe. It's just a piece of white plastic in there.
Yeah, I feel silly now.
Keep chiseling.
Oh, Roman. The handle got bent.
How did you do that?
Me?
Yeah?
What makes you say it was me?
You used it last.
Yeah, but what if it was bent before I started using it? I didn't inspect the piece of equipment before I picked it up, so I don't know if it was me or not. But it could have been you. So we assume 50-50 liability in this situation.
No, you signed off the waiver as soon as you touched it to use it.
I disagree. Roman has made the executive decision that since it is going to be dark in about 20 minutes, we are going to stop our digging right here for the time being because we're starting to get into some hard clay, so the going is really slow right here. And we are going to take our fabric, we're going to get it laid down and everything that we already have dug out all the way over into that corner, and then we are going to lay in our perforated line. We're gonna get all of our intercouplers hooked up to our conduits, and then we should be able to get everything up to here. So we're gonna go from that corner, we gotta connect a coupler there, come through, come right here, coupler, and then we will wait to do this one until we get all that dug out. Outside tile is done, or at least as done as we can get it until we finish up with the inside tile, which we are 90% done with the inside tile. We just have that last little bit left, but we got darked out, so it's really hard for us to be able to see down there right now. So we are going to now move on to our floor drains plan. Now I know I have this in the outside category, but we're just gonna squeak that right down here into our inside category. So the best way for us to be able to describe how our floor drain plan is going to work is through the use of a diagram. So we have 3 different options of what we can do for a floor drain. So this is me and the bottom of the underground movie theater. This is our ground level. This green circle over here is our septic tank. And then down here we have our water level, and just above our water level we have our tile lines. So the way we have everything draining right now is all on the outside of the underground movie theater. So we installed these tile lines down here a few months ago, and they are surrounded by gravel. So if our water level rises, it goes into these tile lines and then it gets taken away. So today we installed our exterior perimeter tile line, which is right here, and then we have our interior perimeter tile line, which is right there. So just in case we ever have some problems with this, our water level would just rise up to here, and then these ones would be able to take it away. So we have everything all taken care of on the outside. Our problem arises on the inside. We are going to have floor above the underground movie theater, and there's going to be water lines in that floor. So let's say we have a problem with one of those water lines while we are gone. It would fill into the underground movie theater, and it would turn it into a swimming pool, which would be bad. So our solution to that is to install a drain in the floor. So this is where our drain plan comes into play. Option number one would be the easiest option. It would simply be to just take the floor drain and just run it straight down like that into the gravel that we have around our tile line. So that way if water got in here, it would just go through all this rock, it would go into the tile line, and it would get taken away. Our other option would be to run a line through the floor, and we could connect up to our interior perimeter drain tile. And then we're basically doing the exact same thing, just instead of going down there, we're going over there. Now, the only thing that I don't like about these is if water ever were to come up from down below, we have direct access into the underground movie theater. So our third option would be to dig out a little sump pit right over here and install a sump pump in there. And then we could take our floor drain and we could plumb straight to the sump pump pit. So the only thing feeding the sump pump would be the floor drain. And then we could eject the water straight up the inside of the wall to the septic line, which would then be taken out to our septic tank. Now, the reason why we would have to have our sump in here is because our floor drain is significantly lower than our septic tank. So the only way for us to be able to get the water up would be through the sump pump, ejecting it up the pipe and out into our septic line. So those are the three options that we are trying to figure out what to do on. Going over all our options now, we have them laid out in a pros cons list. So option number one is the tile. Option number two is going sideways with the tile. Then option number three is going with the sump. So option number one is our cheapest and easiest. Option number two, since it's basically the exact same as option number one, just requires running more pipe. This doesn't even make any more sense. So we are now down to option number 1 and 3. So we have cheap and easy versus correct, but this is the most expensive and it takes the most time. Now, I'm not really a cheap and easy kind of person by any means. I like things done correctly. So we're going to go with option number 3. Now, in all reality, this sump pump should never run. In all reality, these tile lines up here should never have water in them. Everything should always be down here. But I guess in this case, if we do go with the sump pump route, like I would like to, then if we ever have problems with these bottom ones, then we have these secondary ones. And if we have problems with these secondary ones, then we have our sump pump. This would at least allow it to maintain dryness down here until we were able to figure out some sort of solution if we did have a problem with these. So I guess that extra peace of mind makes me really like this, even though it is more expensive and it is going to take more time to install. This is just, it's the best option overall. So now when it comes to the foundation walls, this is where things get a little interesting. Looking at our 10-day weather forecast, we have a lot of lows that are well below freezing, which is 32 degrees. And when you take freezing temperatures and fresh concrete and mix those two together, that is a recipe for problems. Now, I'm not a professional concrete expert, so I don't really know how all of this works, but from my understanding, there is a chemical reaction that goes on inside of concrete when you pour it, and that chemical reaction is what cures the concrete, and it is what makes it hard. And if freezing occurs while that curing is going on, then the curing action can stop. And when it stops, then it can make the concrete really weak, which is exactly what we don't want. When it comes to concrete, like most things, there are caveats. So normally when we would pour concrete, the temperatures would be above freezing, so we would just build our forms and then we'd fill the inside of the forms with concrete, we'd let the concrete harden, we'd take the forms off, done. But in this case, since we are looking at freezing temperatures, we do have the option of pouring the inside of our forms full of concrete and then taking big concrete blankets and putting them over the top of them, kind of like how somebody may cover their flowers when they are expecting a frost. Now, this only works if the temperature is still fairly close to freezing. So if we get down to like 10 degrees, this is not going to work. But the problem is we have 6,600 square feet of foundation wall space. That is an incredible amount of concrete blankets that we don't have, and I don't even want to know what those would cost to rent. So this leaves us with 3 different options. Option number 1 is to wait. Now here's the problem with waiting. If 10 days from now, all of a sudden our lows get above freezing, we would be fine. We would be able to get everything done. But we are approaching December. And here in Iowa, once you hit December, it's usually pretty much below freezing temperatures from now until we get into March. So we would be sitting here for the next 4 months, not being able to do anything in the underground movie theater, which would put a huge wrinkle in the plans that we have, because we would like to get all the floor plan built here and then get the actual addition built up. We were anticipating that keeping us busy for the next several months, so we would really like to not wait. Option number 2 would be to use ICF forms. Normal concrete forms are just made out of steel and wood, and then we just run little straps running right across in the middle to hold them together. So once we have everything level, then all these straps hold everything up, and then they sit down on the footing that we have below, so that keeps them from sinking. So that is just a normal form. They're not insulated. Well, the only insulation we would have would be the wood backing. But when it comes to an ICF, ICF stands for insulated concrete forms. So that means basically they almost look like a styrofoam cooler. On the outside of each side, they have styrofoam. And they are made out of styrofoam, and then there is this polyplastic webbing that goes between them to hold them together, and you stack them together like Legos. So this would basically form as an insulated blanket. Then the only thing that we would have to cover would be the top with some sort of blanket. So this would make us have to rent like to a magnitude of probably like 20 times less concrete blankets. Now when it comes to ICFs, they're about 4 times more expensive than the regular concrete forms. But by the time we get done insulating everything on regular concrete forms, we'd actually probably be at about the same money. So cost is really not the factor for us. The main issue with the ICFs is resources. Roman and I know almost nothing about ICFs. We really like the idea of it. We think it's super cool, but we don't know how to do it. Now, when it comes to about anything else, that's not a problem if we don't know how to do it, because we know somebody who does know how to do it and they would teach us. But when it comes to ICFs, we don't really know anybody who has done them before. Roman has a friend who's done them a couple times, but he visited with his friend and he said, I've done them, but I've not done them enough to know all the little tricks and stuff to absolutely make sure that you are doing everything the way that you wanted it done. And so for that main reason, that makes us nervous and is leaning us away from the ICFs. To be completely honest, if it was July 1st right now, I would have no problem going with the ICFs, because we would have a lot more time. We'd be able to get things set up. We would be able to find people who would be able to help us and advise us and point us in the right direction. But with where we are right now at the end of November, I just don't think we are going to be able to have the time and be able to find the people in the time that we are looking for to be able to get this project done. So for that reason, ICFs are off the table. This is where option number 3 comes into play. BFI, brute force ignorance. The term BFI comes from one of Roman's friends named Devin. Now, Devin lives out in Wyoming, and he has a big excavation company where they do a lot of work on national parks. And in Wyoming, it gets really cold. So Roman gave Devin a call, and he asked him what he recommends for the temperatures that we have. And so he gave us some pretty good ideas. So with the brute force ignorance method, what we are going to do is pour our wall, and then we are going to get some big torpedo heaters on both sides of the wall, and then we are going to get massive pieces of plastic, and we are going to TP them over the top of our wall. So we're going to be covering everything under this plastic TP, and then we are going to run our torpedo heaters for about 5 days to a week, and then we are going to be heating up this entire area around the wall, and so that is going to prevent it from freezing. It's going to probably keep it in the 50s, 60s, it might even keep it warmer than that, and then it is going to allow our wall to be able to cure the way that it's supposed to. Now, this is the brute force ignorance method, because this is significantly more work than anything else, but is going to allow us to be able to get the job done. So while Roman and I have been working today, we've been scouring through our contacts list, asking people if they have torpedo heaters, and if they do, we've been asking if we can rent them from them. And then Roman has also been looking on Marketplace to see if people are selling them, because we need 6 torpedo heaters. And to be completely honest, if we could find 8 of them, that would probably be better, because most people don't really use torpedo heaters that often, so it's pretty common for them not to work. So I guess if we had 8 of them, if 2 of them were kind of petered out and didn't work, then we'd still have our 6. So we're gonna try to get 8 of them lined up, and I think this is going to work. Okay, next up, I already got my computer work taken care of, so we are going to move on to the kitchen plans. Now, before we hop into the design drawings, I just want to give a little feel for how the kitchen is laid out, so that way the drawings actually make a little bit more sense, because things look a little bit different. In the drawings, this door does not exist. This entire wall is actually windows, and then where the refrigerator is located right now, the stove is going to be there in the drawings, and then the fridge in the drawings is located right next to this door. So this will help give us a little bit better reference when we are looking at the drawing. Taking a look at the iPad now, when it comes to the kitchen, we are down to 2 different design options. So this is the design that I made on the iPad. This is not professionally done. This is cold done, but this is our island option. So we have a big old island in the middle. We have a sink in the middle of it, and stove, fridge, microwave right there. And then over on this wall, we would have a second sink, and then we have 2 dishwashers. So we are kind of contemplating on if we like this more or if we like this one more. This would be a peninsula shaped kitchen, so we don't have the island anymore. It connects right into the wall, so it's kind of G-shaped, I guess you could say. I'm kind of liking this one a lot better, because you would have the fridge right here, so anybody sitting at the table would be able to access the fridge, but then also whoever is on the cooking side of the kitchen would also have access to it. And then you kind of have your prep station right here, nice and easy to get it over to the table. And then the cook sink right here is just in a great spot relative to the stove, and then once done on the stove, then things can be brought around and over there. And then also when people are done eating and they have their dirty dishes, then they can just basically slide them right across. You can come around, you can get things rinsed off and kind of cleaned up here. And then we have the 2 dishwashers tucked right underneath of the peninsula. And then also when you're on this side, then you're not looking at the dishwashers, because I think dishwashers look kind of ugly, but over here things look pretty aesthetically pleasing. So the only time you would see the dishwashers is when you are actually on the back side of the island. So if you're on the cooking side, you can see it. So this is my personal favorite. We have 5 feet of space between the front of the fridge and our island, so you'd be able to have 2 people walking side by side, or you could even have these chairs pulled out right here and still open the fridge door and be able to get through. So I would appreciate everybody's feedback, or if anybody has any better ideas on this. But right now I'm really leaning towards this design versus the island design. I feel like the island design, we are just not maximizing the space to the full potential that we could, where this, it's an excellent work area, and then it's also an excellent seating and eating area, because we have 8 people sitting on this one, and then with this design we would be able to have 9, but 2 people would be sitting right beside the sink. So you'd be sitting beside the sink on this side or that side, which I'm not really the biggest fan of. And when it comes to the lack of cabinets up above, honestly, I kind of like that look. Now, we are going to have a ton of countertop space, and everything is going to have drawers underneath of it. So compared to what we had before when we did have cabinets, we are still probably going to have 3 times as much storage just underneath of the countertops as we used to have with our old cabinet setup. So I'm not really offended by not having the cabinets up above, and I just think it gives it a lot cleaner look. And then especially if we have a bunch of windows over here and things are nice and bright, then we're not getting all the shadows and stuff with all the cabinets. And then also we have the pantry over here, and this room, I believe it's like 9 by 10 and minus whatever this little 22.5 degree corner is. But we have a lot of space in here, and if we really need to, we can put some cabinetry in here so that way it's hidden from the kitchen, but then we would also still have an incredible amount of storage in this room. And we did not have this before, so just based on what our kitchen used to be, Like, I'm just not offended by getting rid of the cabinets up top. I'd be very interested on what people who have actual design minds think of that. Yeah. Am I thinking correctly here, or are we going to want those? Because right now I'm leaning towards not wanting them. And I guess Neva's in the same boat too. And ultimately, it is our kitchen, so we get to decide. But I would really appreciate somebody kind of twisting my ear or twisting my arm to try to push us towards that if we honestly probably should have that. So please, down in the comments, if you would leave a comment, that would be really appreciated. And then last but not least, let's talk about the lawsuit. So yesterday we had deposition. If you're not familiar with deposition, it is basically a questioning event. My attorney sat down with the guy that we are suing, and then he asked him questions for 2 hours straight, and then the answers to those questions will then be used in court. For all those attorneys out there, please don't hold my feet to the candle on this one. That's just a rough way that I interpreted how the depositions work. So this is the way deposition worked yesterday. We walk into this little room. My dad sat at the head of the table. My brother sat right here. I sat here. My attorney sat here. The court recorder sat here. My mom sat at the back of the room, and then the guy we are suing sat here, and then his attorney sat there. So for 2 hours straight, my attorney, straight across the table from the guy we are suing, he just asked him questions, and then the court recorder, she had this little machine that she was typing on, and she was recording everything that was being said. Now this is still an active court case. We are set for trial in July of 2025, so I'm not going to be going into the specifics of what we talked about, but I just wanted to give an update that we did have depositions, and I feel like it was, I don't know how it could have really gone any smoother. We came in, our attorney asked questions for 2 hours. I was impressed by his ability to ask questions. I know that it is his job, but just the way that he would approach questions, it was kind of interesting to watch. But I don't think I have anything else on the court case or the deposition. Nothing really new. Just, I guess it's now sitting and looking at the information that we got from the depositions, putting that into a case, and then I take it, we use that case information for trial. So with all that being said, we pretty much got all of our to-do list done, so we are going to call it a day. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.